So hey guys, it's Paul, and it's been a while since I've done a video for the First Year Dad, a video series, but I've got my main man. Say hello. You know, Bubba. He's camera shy, not like his dad. I've got my main man next to me. Say hello. And I wanted to talk about emotions, how men should deal with emotions, and this comes off the bat of a recent article that I wrote for the Huffington Post, and also a book that I'll be launching in March the 4th, which is my dad's anniversary, the day I lost my dad to suicide. And this topic's all about how men should deal with emotions, and it's all about whether we should man up or whether we should man down. And the reason behind it is I was featured in a video from Attention the other week, and they put it on Facebook. They picked up one of my videos from YouTube, and it was all about how men should deal with their emotions. Is it okay to cry as a man? And that video had been seen by, I think it was about 7 million people at the time.
Growing up, boys are often told that men don't cry, to suck it up and hide any emotion that shows vulnerability.
A guy is never supposed to show his emotions.
But when guys bury their emotions, it can have huge consequences.
Right now, I can't say I'm okay.
I myself have struggled through depression for a good majority of my life.
A lot of guys are uncomfortable asking for help. Close to 1 in 10 men in America suffer from depression or anxiety, and less than 1/2 of them actually seek treatment. This has extremely damaging long-term effects on mental health. Personally, I've experienced depression myself. I had no idea how much just opening up to another guy and talking about my feelings would help me.
You need to be able to let these feelings out, and you need to be able to talk about them.
Showing emotion isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And once you understand that, you're gonna feel, you know, a huge weight lifted off your shoulders straight away.
I'm a guy who's not afraid to express his emotions, and no matter what anybody else says, you shouldn't be either.
It was a real honor to be in that video, obviously, but a lot of the comments were all about trying to force men to cry, and this is what I come up with in terms of having to man up or man down. And in terms of having to man up, it depends on how you're conditioned and how you were brought up. Now, the issue is now, and this is why the suicide rate is so high, this is why suicide's the biggest killer of men right now. A man dies every 2 hours in the UK alone from suicide. And I believe this is one of the reasons, is because the modern day man isn't conditioned like the old school man. So my granddad, he's 91 years old, and I've never ever seen him cry. He lost his only son, my dad, to suicide, and he never cried, and he didn't cry at his funeral. A month later, he lost his wife of over 50 years to cancer. Again, never cried. Now that doesn't mean that he wasn't upset. My granddad's been through war, he's been through a tough childhood, a tough upbringing, poverty, and that is the way that he's conditioned. He's conditioned to deal with his emotions in that way. If he shows any weakness, or if he shows being upset or crying, he sees that as a weakness. Whereas the modern day man is completely different. I personally wasn't conditioned like my granddad has been. So I was brought up heavily by my mum, influenced heavily by my mum. My dad was always around, but he worked a lot. That whole, the man goes to work, my mum stayed at home, brought me and my brother up. So I'm more conditioned to be more open and to be more sensitive, because I looked at my mum more than I looked at my dad. And obviously there are more single mums out there now bringing up their children. So that is again having a huge impact on the way that men are now conditioned to deal with emotions. They're becoming a lot more open and a lot more sensitive. And the problem behind that is we still have this perception that the man is this person who doesn't cry, who has to be strong, who should fight, and it's completely different nowadays. But what I'm trying to get at with this argument is dealing with emotions is very personal. There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong way about it. So many people on that video in the comments, and a lot of people trying to get this point across in terms of it's okay for men to cry, are focusing on the crying aspect of it. This little man, don't you cry a lot. And as babies we cry If we want something, if we're upset, we cry. As a man, as a baby, we cry. And obviously as you get older, you're told not to cry as a man. It shows weakness. So the point that I'm trying to make is there is no right or wrong way to deal with your emotions. The most important thing is that you understand how you are conditioned and you deal with them. Whether you deal with them like my granddad has for the last 91 years, where he literally just is strong and he doesn't show any emotion and he just works through it, or you deal with them in the way that I personally deal with them, where I'm very open, I can talk about them, I'm not afraid to cry, I'm not afraid to show any weakness or any vulnerability, and that is the way that I deal with them. But the most important thing is that you just deal with it, even if you don't bury your emotions, because this is when you start to feel depressed and you start to have breakdowns. So the point of the argument is this: you don't have to man up or man down. It is entirely up to you. You want to talk now? He wants to get involved. It's entirely up to you how you deal with them. The most important thing is that you deal with it. Whether you deal with it in a sensitive way where you're open and you're honest about your emotions, or whether you deal with it in a way where you take the traditional the older generation approach and you battle through it. It's entirely up to you and the way that you're conditioned, but just know that you have to deal with it. Don't bury your emotions, because that is when depression and breakdowns stem from. So guys, make sure you handle your emotions. I'll link to an article below this video that's going to help. And I want you to ask yourself the question of, am I dealing with my emotions?